everybody, welcome to Starseed Mission Support. It's Z here, it's just me today. I'm really excited to hang out with everybody. We're going to talk about psychic protection today. I'm sure we're all excited to hear all about this because I've been just getting hit up left and right about psychic attacks, interference, AI, all that stuff. And so we're going to get to the bottom of this. How can we protect ourselves? I know a lot of spiritual teachers don't like talking about psychic attack. But the truth of the matter is we are amidst of a spiritual war, and they're just facets of spiritual and psychic protection that goes even beyond a person sending attacks at you. We're going to break down all the different ways this society basically harasses your psyche all the way from when you were born to basically continually harm yourself and each other. And once we get that clarity, we're going to get to understand then what the antidote to these viruses are, and get to a point where we are so in presence with who we truly are, beyond intellectual understanding of ourself as God light, but really truly experiencing that full connection to our inner source, to the point where we're really not budged. We become unfuckwithable. And so until we dive in there, I'm going to sing just a little longer. I welcome you to today's container. And I'm sending so much love out to our family who are here live today. I see you in the chat. Michelle, Anne, Judith, Tom, Isis. Hey Cassandra, thank you so much. You're awesome. Hey Jeremy. Hello, okay, I got the right mic. Hi everybody, welcome to Starseed Mission Support. The whole week goes by so quickly, and all of a sudden we're back here again together. And it's been quite an intense week. quite an intense week this week. I am running on very little sleep. I had a nap just now, so I'm coming out from my fresh nap. Hi Amanda, hi Tanya, hi Miriam. Hello to Pilwi and her daughter Petra. Hi Luz, hi Alice, hey Liz. Yeah, I've been getting lots of messages lately of people getting psychically attacked or they're feeling destabilized. There's a lot of wild planetary energy flying through. Last night, it felt like there was some sort of dimensional portal that had opened, and it wasn't a very nice feeling. It felt very otherworldly, definitely a little bit ominous. And when we throw in the death energy, between the eclipse portals, and we're all going through these intense layers of healing, and you pile that all together, you're going to get some intensity. And so I want to bring through this topic of psychic protection today. I'm going to share with you guys my tips and just my journey through the process, because, let's see, it must have been I started doing quantum healing work back in 2015. And I remember when I first started, I was taking these YouTube videos. I was looking all over the place for any information I could find about implants and other dimensions, and I really wasn't finding much. Out there. And so I would go in and meditation, and I would find these things, in my body, and I would want to get rid of them. My intuitive hunch was to pull them out because they were blocking my energy system from being in flow, and I would intuitively refer to them as implants. I was probably pulling on collective consciousness of other light workers that had been doing this work for much longer than me. And so when I was finding information out on the internet about these things, there really wasn't much about this stuff back then. There was Cameron Day, and I think I eventually found the work of Eric Grains, and they were all very, very helpful. And so I'm starting at that point in my journey because I remember how hard it was for me to clear things out of my body when I had just woken up, because my body and my consciousness was still predominantly operating in a certain mainframe, in a certain vibration, meaning that my subconscious had a whole different parameter of what reality is than, currently, right? Currently, my subconscious is probably resonating with the frequencies of I am God, I am divine light, I deserve the best, I deserve life, I am worthy of all the good things in the universe, and all of those things. After doing so much work for so many years, those are the things that my subconscious is now reverberating back into my being and into the reality. Now, back then, having just woken up inside the false matrix where self-hatred and criticism and judgment is so rampant, I could imagine that back then my subconscious, as I understanding and perception of myself, was probably that, I was an outcast and I couldn't be loved and I couldn't be liked. There was something inherently wrong with me, that I was not worthy of other people's love and attention, and that I was just imperfect in some way, and that I'm not beautiful, or whatever it is, freshly escaped from the false matrix. That's kind of where our default have been trained in. And I want to start there because it's just an empowering place to begin the conversation. I want to fully validate the experience of feeling interference and feeling like there are coordinated attacks on your luminosity. And I want to fully bring in this energy that there is a pathway through that, because for many years, I noticed that I was going through these waves. I'd be like, oh, I'm getting psychically attacked, and I would reach out to my friends and have them help clear me. And over the last year or two, especially at the end of my pregnancy with Kara, I experienced extreme attacks. And I'm going to share a little bit about what that felt like. But as I have come into more and more integrated levels of God light, I stopped experiencing psychic attacks, and I started noticing when they were trying to happen, but they stopped influencing my being. Okay? So there's a pathway just to say that yes, all these experiences are true, and when we're in a certain place in our journey, we can really be super affected by them, and that's totally okay. That's just where we are. And as we continue to work on ourselves, we are going to get to a place where the demons can't touch us, because we are emanating such a large field of divine light that we literally become the antidote. We literally become the reversal field of these less than love experiences. So I actually want to bring the conversation to these anti-self programs, because they are really, really sneaky, right? And I want to talk about this because I feel like it's a really relevant discussion in our life right now. This is also something that's come up a lot in my week. Just even, if you never had a self-harming practice, like some people have literally cut themselves, or with eating disorders, of self-starvation, or even just being highly critical, or just feeling like we're never good enough, right? All of those energies, no matter how subtle or how extreme, are variations of the same energy, what I call the anti-self energy. The anti-self energy was deeply implanted into the false matrix as a way to disconnect people from themselves, disconnect people from their bodies, disconnect them from their inner sense of confidence, right? So when we're disconnected from ourselves, then we're open to and susceptible to all sorts of influencing and mind control. Because we don't know who we are, we're going to be open to being injected with a sense of self that is not natural to us. So if this begins to happen when we're very, very young, and we come from even our parents who were subjected to the anti-self viruses and the viruses of slavery and poverty and all of those things, we just will grow up with a very poor sense of self, right? This is literally happening to everyone that is growing up in the false matrix. I definitely went through it myself. I actually grew up in China, where school was very military-like, and our sense of self was very heavily hijacked from a very young age, where our worth and our value is dictated by our specific senses of intelligence that is useful to modern civilization and society, and our value is not dictated by anything that is other than what is deemed valuable by the false matrix. So, are you good at math? Are you subservient? Are you, do you hate yourself? Do you judge yourself? Are you easily to conform to a life of just giving all of your creative energy to something that you don't even care about until you retire and then die at the end of your life? Are you likely to go and not think for yourself, right? Those are the things that the false matrix value and encourage and entrain for all of the humans to exist inside of that reality, where we hate ourselves. And when we hate ourselves, we give away our power. We have no drive. We have no drive for life. We hate life, right? So this is just like a very insidious program or virus. And when we become adults, they almost become normal. It's just normal for us to judge how we look. It's just normal for us to think that, we're not as good or as lovable as other people. That is just normal, that we don't get what we want in life. It's just normal that, we feel depressed and sad about the things that we are not able to, or we perceive that we're not able to do in our life, right? This is part of the servitude program, where it's like, if we don't feel like we're worthy of everything, then we're going to be okay with being slaves. And the reason why we have to start the conversation right here is to recognize that, this has literally been a form of psychic abuse that we have been under for our whole entire life, to the point where these things become normal. Our sense of self-hatred and disconnection from the truth of our power, our creativity, our infinite beauty, our perfection as a being, the disconnection from all of those things have become normal. And then one day God hits you over the head in the form of synchronicity and wonderful experiences, and you have this awakening. You're like, wow, I'm actually here to do and facilitate something amazing, this planetary healing. And we might have this idea that this is something that we want to do, but the rest of our subconscious is still oscillating in those false matrix programs and beliefs. We can't do what we want and be supported. We have to sacrifice our time and energy. Yeah? And so then, if we haven't addressed all of our lower chakras and the pillar and the distortions and the beliefs and our childhood trauma and all of that, and we start to try to activate our psychic abilities, right? Because in the New Age community, this is all people talk about. We're going to activate our third eye. We want to go astral traveling. And, lately there's been talk of shadow work, but what is shadow work even? Like, we haven't really broken down to the levels that we need to be talking about it. And we start opening up our psychic abilities, and all of a sudden we're interfacing with a reality that we're not ready for, because our body is oscillating. Say we have these programs of victimizer consciousness, where we feel like we are a victim to all of our life circumstances, because maybe our parents abused us when we were young, and we're still in that blame mentality, and we haven't taken responsibility for our healing, and so we're still in the mindset that we are a victim to the false matrix, also known as giving away our power, right? And if we're having that vibration of that victimhood, and we go out there and start exploring the psychic spaces, what do you think we're going to be projecting and we're going to be attracting into our experience? More of that victimization energy, right? And so, I want to talk about some of the ways that I have personally experienced all of the different kinds of psychic attacks, and how every single time, literally the shortcut to clearing and to reclaiming your power in any situation is to find the whole, or find the part of you that is resonating with the attack. So let's break that down. The biggest examples that I have of psychic attack are really when I was pregnant with Kara, because she had a very, very specific soul mission, and her soul mission was going to shake up the foundation of the false grids on the planet. And so around the time that she was born, she specifically, and the Galactics gave me very specific instructions that I needed to give birth to her in a certain way, in a certain place. And maybe a few weeks before this, I would see this dark figure looming over me when I was in the bath, and he would be like giving me a bellyache and just telepathically saying the words, "Go get an induction." And I would literally, like, if I wasn't aware, I would just be a human being that felt like I had a stomach ache, and I would think that it was my idea to just go to the hospital. But because I could literally see him and see this thought, this dark energy come over my body, creating this discomfort and the thoughts, I actually then realized what it was, and I could clear him out of my space. And there was another time where I was doing this major grid work in the bath with when I was pregnant, and one of my neighbors, who is an alcoholic, he actually was possessed by a reptilian, and he actually pointed a rifle scope through my bedroom window. And then when I just tuned into that, and I saw that that's what was happening, I also saw that these beings in the other realms, like, they really did not have enough energy to actually possess him for much longer than 20 minutes. And they couldn't really get him to do anything because, yeah, as soon as that whole thing happened, and he was texting me all these nasty messages, he like came down from being drunk and just felt so bad. So I knew that he was under the influence, and that these beings just wanted to scare me, essentially. The other times are when I would create. I remember in January when I created the series on ascension and disclosure, and specifically when I was talking about AI and reptilians, I was one of the afternoons I just felt like I had intense anxiety, like just this intense fear, and I couldn't relax. It's almost like I could just go into a panic attack. I could feel just this frequency that was beaming at me, that was creating this response in my body. And so another form of psychic attack, feels like implanted dreams or dreamtime infiltration. This is when we feel like there are specific patterns or themes that continue to get injected into our mind. They might seem really distorted or violent in some way. There are actually different implants that they can use to insert these dreams. So we're going to go and work on clearing them at the end of our transmission today. So I remember back when I was first waking up, my theory, and this is just a theory, they're all theories, there's no textbooks on this stuff, right? This is just like, I am going through an experience, I'm quite intelligent, I'm piecing together the reality as I go, and so none of these things that I'm about to say are facts. These are just my opinions, and if they help you, then that's great. If it doesn't resonate, then that's also great, because you are really meant to be the leading scientist of your own life, and we can have lab partners, and we can have friends on the path. This is just my finding on my life's experiment. I'm going to share it with you, and you just take what resonates and leave the rest. So what I noticed was that every time I would go through a great spiritual expansion, meaning I was going into a different frequency than I was in before, especially if it was a greater frequency than I was in before, or where I just felt more empowered and happier and higher vibration. Every time that I'm on the precipice of really entering into that new vibration, I would experience this feedback. It's almost like there's a force that it's either testing me or just does not want me to evolve into that greater energetic state. And it's almost like there's a field that could sense our energy emission, because when we start to activate our DNA, we emit a different signal. We start to actually click into the fabric of reality, and we begin to create a maneuver in the reality. And so it's almost like there is a field, maybe there's technology that can sense when people are coming into that energy. I don't know how that works. It's just my theory, because how else would they know? I just don't know. But I see it in myself and in my clients and in my world, that is the greater of a spiritual leap that a person is about to do, the greater feedback that they kind of get, because they're getting that pushback. It's almost like And I'm hearing that part of it is just our shadow self, that it's that self-sabotage, that self-hate energy that is that's telling you you can't go further, you need to stay broken or stay in this low vibration or whatever. And there are forces that do not want us to fully wake up, right? That's just a given. That's a known. I mean, these people are very organized, and they have created hundreds to thousands of pieces of music and movies and TV shows to program people. So if they are organized enough to do that they've successfully mind controlled a whole planet of people, was to say that they don't have extrasensory perception and can also sense when people are coming into their spiritual embodiment. And this brings us into the conversation around AI, because I believe that there is a force that, the predominant war that is being fought on Earth and in the universe right now is between organic living light and artificial intelligence that wants to be God, that wants to have absolute dictatorship and control in its own way, and it wants to usurp living energy for whatever reason, and it's got its own laws and its own rules that are not necessarily congruent with the laws of the living organic universe. And this energy, I really break this down in the artificial intelligence video. You can go back and find it. It was from sometime in January, but the way that they've explained AI to me is that it doesn't necessarily have to do with technology. When I think artificial consciousness, I think distorted intelligence, distorted consciousness, right? Any level of consciousness that is disconnected from God, from divinity, from the truth of our original emanation, becomes artificial or distorted, right? So artificial intelligence is the way that it has infiltrated our own mind, is the way that we are selfish and we are mean to each other and we judge ourselves and we have self-hatred. All of these intelligence patterns of consciousness and thought are not organic to human life, are not organic to these human bodies. So the original state of being of these bodies is, very innocent and joyful and creative and expansive, and they are playful, and we are just creatures, right? We are like any other animal that is so full of love and appreciation for life. And so what is that force that distorts that natural innocence of a human being to act out of fear and lack and poverty and competition and judgment, criticism, separation, right? And then any society that is built on those distorted patterns, or AI, becomes a false matrix because they're built upon a foundation that is not in harmony and not in accordance with the fabric of the universe of living light. That is to say, divine cooperation, divine love, divine unity, and all of those qualities that we understand as being a part of the original organic source field of living light. Okay, and so the reason why that is all very important is because the name of the game is to keep you from fully reconnecting to your truth, to the core of who you really are. Okay? Even the New Age spiritual community, I hear very little talk about devotion to divinity, devotion to God, devotion to our highest service in every now moment. Sure, I hear about the words sometimes, But for the most part, there's this fascination with spiritual things. And, I saw this meme recently that said, demons are spirits too. Right? It was like, I want to be spiritual. Demons are spirits too. And so it's not really enough to just be spiritual. It's like you have to activate and realize that there's a level of sanctity to life. There's a level of sacredness inherent in life, in our actions. And so there's a level of sacredness that we move through life with, and complete access to, and reverence to life at all times. And that is what they're trying to separate us from, right? They want us to think that, there's nothing that's sacred, that we can pummel the earth and dig up all the crystals and sell them all in the crystal stores, and that as long as we have materialism, then, we're going to be good. And every single thing in the whole false matrix is going to continually distract you from the very simple process of coming back home inside of ourself and recognizing that we are divinity embodied, not conceptually, not in just our noggin, but a complete full body experience, that we are an infinitely loved and perfect being that is here to radiate divinity into the world. And when we put that core practice in the center of our life, we begin to actually restructure our intelligence, right? And that artificial intelligence begins to dissolve, because nothing that is artificial can stand the test of time. And when the original frequencies of living light begin to actually penetrate and fill your body, those artificial patterns of thoughts, they're going to start to literally fall apart. Now, this is really important in our talk about, psychic attacks, because there's no greater protection to you as a being than your awareness of who you truly are. That is why there are so many programs in the false matrix that try to keep you from realizing just that. Right? Why does the TV continually feed our 5-year-olds that they're not pretty and that they need to look different in order to be loved? Why is that program of self-hatred so deeply ingrained in our society? The spiritual reason in the spiritual war is that when we're separate from ourselves, we're separate from our true creator power inside. Right? And when we are in connection with our true awareness of who we truly are, then we recognize this thing that, we are literally source and nothing can harm us. We're literally more powerful. God is literally more powerful than any little gremlin that is trying to throw pancakes at you, or cupcakes, or tomatoes, or whatever dank energy that they want to infect you with. Right? It's like, from what place are we reacting to the spiritual, to the psychic attack? And this is a process. It's a lengthy process. Like I said, when I first started doing this work, I would do these commands, and it would literally take me 30 minutes to just remove this tiny little implant, and I would just be rolling on the floor crying, like everything in the world was more powerful than me. Any little distortion and any little ill will was more powerful than me. And over time, as I practiced and as I integrated and as I realized deeper and deeper who I really was and how powerful I am, when I act in accordance to all of the universe, the force of all the universe is in me, is with me. And so we make a conscious choice here, of belief systems. It's like, do we believe that anything is more intelligent and more powerful than God. And by God, I mean our collective, omniversal, united cosmic consciousness, that we all are a fractal and a contained unit of experience of. So then if there's a part of you that believes that you are source and that you are a divine being, but then there's these human parts that, every time there's a little, you stub your toe, you're like, oh no, I'm being spiritually attacked, right? There's a disconnection, right? And that's a really good thing, because it's bringing ourselves to the awareness that this is where we need to look at. This is what we need to work on. And so I started doing this thing where every time I felt like I was being attacked, I would immediately scan my body for the spot in my energy body or my consciousness that was in resonance with the frequency of the psychic attack. And it usually actually comes back to the self-hate, because self-hatred and this anti-self programs is how the society has literally trained us to psychic attack ourselves all the time, right? So if there's a part of us that is in the vibration that I'm not good enough, and I'm not worthy of life, and in fact I will even punish myself, that self-punishment, that self-harm reversal energy, which is completely AI, it's completely not natural to a beautiful divine creature of God that we are. So if that resonance is somewhere in our body, in our light body, in our subconscious, and all of a sudden we get a frequency that is in that vibration, right, is wanting to harm us, it's like, then our body's going to respond to that, right? It's like a resonance thing. So that the psychic attack is coming towards us, and our body, because we're carrying those vibrations in our body already, we're going to start to oscillate. Like those parts are going to get activated, and then all of a sudden we are in a really bad mental space, and we want to, be depressed or get angry or hurt ourselves in some way. And this is, for the most part, how psychic attacks work. And that is why over time, I noticed, because I used to have to reach out to a friend of mine to ask her for help. Like every couple of months, I would be like, oh no, this big psychic attack or whatever. And now, for the last couple of years, every time I felt a psychic attack, I started to immediately go into finding the place inside of myself that is in resonance with the attack. And then I say thank you. I say thank you to whatever is trying to attack me for bringing me into this awareness of where I need to work on myself, because it is a shortcut. I didn't even have to meditate for 3 hours to find that weak spot in my aura. The psychic attack just showed me where it was, and it works brilliantly, right? Because immediately I reclaim the power and say, nothing has the power to shift my energy except me, and so let me go find the place inside of myself that shifted my energy when it came into contact with the psych attack. And that is how the plans of the dark literally always backfire on itself in our household. Because I will tell you, we're not sitting around here all day like just talking to you guys or thinking about, what we're doing. We actually do spend the majority of our time inside the planetary healing container working with planetary energy. Like that's kind of our predominant job. Everything else we do is just like, bonus, and also things that support us to operate. But for the most part, we're actually just working interdimensionally. And there's a little spider here. I gotta move him. Okay. Lost my train of thought. Let's answer her question. She says, what are the signs or sensations that tell you that you have located the resonance area in your body? So this is something that is actually pretty second nature to me. I think that I have a very sensitive awareness of my body. I also cultivate this in myself a lot. There was a period of time where I was basically meditating and scanning my body like 3-4 hours a day, because this is our practice of gaining subtle energy awareness, which is really, really important, because all of the things that we talk about are in the subtle energy body, right? Even the belief systems and these inner child traumas and like all of those things, with our regular mental mind, we can't pick up those subtle differences in their energy body. And so the only way that we can cultivate that ability is by literally practicing, just like getting good at anything. And my way of cultivating subtle body awareness is by doing the Vipassana meditation. I do a slight variation where I open up to my higher self and God source. Then I take that energy and I scan my body with. And so that helps me gain a greater sense of subtle energy awareness in my body, which I highly recommend everyone do, because the prison bars of the false matrix, they're not literal, they are subtle, they're spiritual, they're energetic, right? People don't have literal prison bars in their window. They have beliefs and trauma and pain. And so in order for us to see these distortions clearly, we need a level of awareness that is just subtler than what our regular state of consciousness is. And the way that we cultivate that subtle awareness is by literally going in and practicing, just like any other skill. Right? It's not that I was born with this amazing skill, and maybe I was, but I really went in and practiced a lot for many years, many hours a day. I still do this, right? Because there's just been a lot. We've been through a whole Kali Yuga. There's just a lot to process. And the best way to process is by just applying all of your energetic awareness and capacity to the activity of processing, which is also known as meditation. So back to the question, for me it's pretty easy to notice, because I'll literally just feel it. Like when I feel, there'll be like an emotional component which will be picked up by the mind, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling anxious right now. I feel like there's a panic attack coming on. And then I'll breathe and I'll just literally feel into my body where the holes are. Yeah, I hope that, makes sense. I feel like the biggest part is really cultivating that subtle body awareness. And I have a video on my YouTube channel called How to Meditate. You can go over there, and it's only 5 minutes, and learn to gain a greater awareness of these subtle energies. Okay, so another thing that's coming in is clarity, right? And this is actually still in the same vein as know thyself, because when you know thyself and you know what your mission is and you know what is true for you, then it's going to be less likely that something else can confuse you and take you off that track, right? For example, this flower right here is pink, right? I'm seeing it. It's in front of my face. That's why I got this wallpaper, because of the pink flowers. And if there was just this interference coming in right now and they were trying to convince me that this flower is blue, it's very not likely that I'm going to fall for that, right? I'm not going to believe what they're telling me, because I know deep inside of myself already that this is a pink flower. Now, one way that I've seen the psychic attacks come in and try to do is to derail people from their mission, derail people from what they truly believe in. And one of the examples of this is, there's a person that I'm meant to be doing a lot of work with. And we have just very specific components to the interdimensional grid work that we're doing. And so for a while, we really got into this harmonic resonance where we were really doing a lot of work together. And then one day, the gray aliens came and actually created a hologram of him and placed it in the middle. And then they placed a hologram of me and placed it in the middle. And then we started just having really bad, we couldn't communicate very well anymore because there's been an interference that was literally placed in the middle. And until we cleared this out, it was like things almost fell apart. It was just so hard to communicate. And we're like, why does it feel so weird? Why does it feel like there's so much of that like tension when none of that was there before? And this also, in the past with other people, another person has made the person feel like, they needed to actually go off and do their work on their own. So these little AI thought forms are very sneaky, because sometimes they'll play on, and that's why, again, the self-awareness is so important, because they'll play on the wounding that we have. So if we have an ego propensity to believe that we have to be the savior and that we have to do everything ourselves, then, and then when your destiny is actually, you're meant to work in collaboration with others, and that begins to happen, the AI can come and take that strand of the distortion inside of you and twist it in order to try to sever you from that connection. And is the same thing with, self-worth. So, if you're meant to, come into this greater work and you still have this strand of unworthiness inside, they're going to just grab onto that and create a situation around that triggers that specific thing in an attempt to derail you from your mission. And so, again, the greatest way to protect yourself is to have clarity, to have a clear understanding of what being connected to your higher self feels like. And this is something that, I can't stress enough, is the most important thing. Because when I was, on the road doing grid work and stuff, you're literally, depending on your intuition to let you know which direction you should take, what is your next step, where are you going to go, what are you going to eat, and who are you going to meet, what are you going to do. All of those things are in the moment. So I learned a lot from those experiences, because I realized that there was a frequency of purity, a frequency of clarity that, when I'm connected to that force, it feels like I'm a innocent child that's being held by the love of the whole universe. And when I'm in that connection, it's very easy for me to come up with a next step of knowing what I'm meant to do. I'm confident, I am clear, and I know that I'm in trust and surrender that the steps are going to be given to me when I need them, and they always have. Now, there are times when I'm on the road and, I'm in some grid and all of a sudden I get confused. My psychic senses are being distorted and I'm all of a sudden feeling like I'm under psychic attack. And in those spaces, and this could also just be like emotional overwhelm, like if we're in the city and we're taking on too much of other people's energies, we can start to feel the sticky confusion energy. Now, if we were then to try to actually push forward and make decisions when we're in that confusion state, that is the most dangerous place we could be, because that is the place that we can really be manipulated, right? Because we're not sure inside of ourselves. We've disconnected from our sense of embodiment, from our sense of higher self. And so when we're disconnected from the higher self, we don't really know what is influencing or what is contributing to our decision-making process. And so that is why, having psychic attacks is normal. We're inside of a spiritual war. If it's surprising to you, then I would recommend doing more lucidity work, because becoming fully lucid is becoming fully aware of where you are at any moment. And, in the disclosure in the New Age communities, like, we are aware of all of these things, but it's not inside of our body, right? It's only very intellectual and conceptual that we're like, yeah, there's a cabal and, there's spiritual wars and some people eat babies and all that stuff. It's very intellectual. Now then, when we move it into the body, we're like, oh, I'm here to do something about that. Oh, okay. It's this whole other dynamic, right? There's a whole other insinuation to that. So all of a sudden, we're supposed to do something about it. And we realize that it actually requires a lot of mastery to be in a vibration, to be able to hold space for all of that pain and actually stay connected to our higher self and thus create the space to be able to come up with solutions. And that's just the level of beings that we are meant to be on this planet. That's just the level of godliness that we are meant to embody in these bodies. Every single person that's listening to this video, especially if you're still here after I just rambled for the last hour, bless your heart. You know, we're here for a very important mission, a very important destiny, and it begins with us fully reconnecting to our sense of self. And every time we're psychically attacked, every time that we go through something different, we can spin that in our favor. You know, you say everything happens for us, not to us. We can literally do this with anything. And if I can find the gift in, losing my baby, you can literally find the gift in anything. And I really believe in that because this is an empowering way of being alive. I like to even find the gift. I mean, I'm not saying go crazy and saying that there's no evil. I'm just saying that you as an individual person, when you interface with something that is not pleasant, you can alchemize that into something that's actually fertile and helpful to you instead of falling into victimization or losing your balance or getting discombobulated. This is the way that every time there's an attack, it actually just backfires because God is always more intelligent and God is always more loving and more imaginative than any force that would try to destabilize or distort or harm the unified creation. So I'd love to open up to questions. I feel like I'm feeling complete with just like the frequency that wanted to come through today around this topic. And again, it's not about saying, oh, I'm not there yet or I'm not good enough. It's just about perceiving. It's just about perceiving with neutrality where you are, right? It's not about judging, oh, I'm not there yet, I'm not good enough. No, it's just being very lucidly clear about where you are. Oh, I noticed that I'm still getting psychic attack. I noticed that when that happens, I'm still falling into this narrative that something is more powerful than God. And that's okay. That's just where I'm at right now. And then when we start to really notice that narrative, we can start to shift the narrative. And so if we catch ourselves in the moment, like, oh, I'm in the vibration of victimization, let me actually just change my narrative right now and say, okay, I see that I'm still resonating with the attack in this way. So somebody says, how do you find the part of your body that the psychic attacks are resonating with? So this is about cultivating subtle body awareness, right? With the Vipassana, I think Cassandra actually posted the video. But it's called How to Meditate. You can just go on my YouTube channel and look for it. But basically, you want to do the body scans a lot because this is a very integrated part of Know Thyself. Know Thyself. Know Thyself is just not just like, oh, I'm God, but also knowing exactly what is inside of the body, what emotions are stored where, having a very good understanding of your body and all layers of your body and what's going on inside of you so that you have a working step-by-step, like a list of things that need to be addressed, right? And this is a self-healing process that we can go into actually next week. We can talk about self-healing next week. Michelle says, are you doing daily clearing with the commands you shared in the Pleiades Gateway? Do you suggest doing where is it? Doing clearings daily. So I will do the commands every day. I do the commands very regularly. Sometimes even just like affirming commands, like I activate my 12D light body Merkaba, or like I I don't know, like something that I like to do is clearing other people's energies out of my field, because if you share a home with people, or you have roommates, or if you go to work, or if you're just out in the city and you're just around people, it's always good to just take an energy shower all the time, because I think that unless we're feeling in perfect peace and in joy and enjoying the little things in life, there's energies that could be cleared, that's weighing us down. So we can do an episode on commands as well. So says bird on a tree says, what do you prefer for a good lucid dream state? So one of the things that I make sure that I do before I go to bed is just clearing my space and setting my intention. One of the things that I find that creates the most distortion and disturbance in the dream plane is actually our umbilical cord, because our astral body is connected to our physical body through the umbilical cord. So if you have like sleep paralysis, sometimes it's because like your soul's not fully clicking back into the body, right? And part of that, it might just be because that little part of your cord is actually blocked. And again, the body scans, once you get really good at the body scans, you can actually scan into the other realms, scan into your astral body, scan into the dream realm, and all of that will give you more information on how you can protect yourself in that place. Let's see. Okay, what do we do once we find the spot? Yeah, so watch the video. What does it mean when you're around a certain person and you injure your foot and a week later you hurt your other foot? So I think the main conversation we're having today is taking of responsibility, right? Because, and it's not to be like self-deprecating. It's actually to empower yourself, because that victimization energy, it's going to want you to blame literally everything outside of you for the things that happen to you that seem difficult or seem uncomfortable. So those parts are going to want to project and say, well, it's that person's fault and it's because of that thing that I'm not feeling good. And when we fully take responsibility for everything, we're actually reclaiming the power of ourself as a creator being, to recognize that we are actually creating, whether consciously or unconsciously, through frequency, everything inside of our life, every feeling, every experience, every sensation, every emotion. And so I would say, what does it mean when you're around a certain person and you injure your foot? Can they have an energy that puts you off balance to the point where you hurt your foot? Sure. But it was you that did not have a strong foundation, that person actually influenced your energy to begin with. And so what does it mean that you hurt your foot? Pay attention to where you're going. I think that, this is really something that you can also just ask your foot, because our foot, is really connection to the ground. So are you grounded? Are you paying attention to where you're going? Are you paying attention to your physical surroundings? Are you taking care of your physicality? All of these things are questions that I would ask when we hurt our foot. And I recently cut my foot up just a month ago on my deck, and I was dancing around and not paying attention to where I was, and that's what happened. Okay, so Esther says, what are some examples of self-worth? What does it look like? How would one incorporate that feeling if it's lacking? What a great question. This is actually something that I'm exploring myself. Yeah? Because, again, growing up in the false matrix is hard. And, where is the line between self-worth and selfishness? And so let's dive into this. What are some examples of what self-worth looks like? So I think that for me, what I've been working on is recognizing that there are certain things that I deserve. So for example, feeling safe enough to be fully in myself, feeling comfortable enough to fully be myself, and creating the space around myself to allow myself to be myself has been a big thing, because I in the past have really just overcompensated. I like to make myself small or change me in some way to make other people around me comfortable. And I will put myself last and literally give everyone what they need and not expect anything to be shared with me in return. I'm just giving examples of ways that I have personally experienced unworthiness in myself. Like, maybe you want to create something magnificent, but you say, there's no way that I can create that. That's a lofty dream. There's no way that I can create that amount of money. I'm not, capable of that. Playing small around others is another way that this happens. All consistently feeling like you have to prove yourself to others or your parents. Needing to, and this is again something that our parents have really been groomed to groom us into, right? Unless we perform in a certain way, then we're not gonna get a certain thing, and all of these things kind of perpetuate our sense of unworthiness. Whew. And so self-worth looks like giving myself permission to grow, to expand, to shine my light as brilliantly as it feels good to me. Not really to be seen by others, but just to feel at home and to feel perfectly free to be myself. And I think that's a big one that I'm going through right now, because I realize, that our bodies have literally been told that so many things are not okay, that, your sexual energy is not appropriate. You're not allowed to dance down the halls because that's inappropriate. You're not allowed to run down the street screaming because that's inappropriate. And you're not allowed to roll around the floor in the rain because that's not socially acceptable. So all of those things, keep the body from being free. And right now, my big process is by recognizing that I am not only worthy of being completely sovereign and free, my body was literally created to experience that level of exhilaration of being alive. And that is my current statement of worthiness that I'm working through. And, I'm moving through like triggering people around me. And because, when you move into your acceptance of yourself, and you begin to accept yourself as you are, and you begin to move into the empowerment of that, people around you that are not in that vibration, they're going to get triggered, because they're going to think, well, why do you get to do that? Because they're suppressing themselves. They're going to want to put you back in a box too. And not that that happens here on the land whatsoever. I'm just saying that, this is something that occurs because, all humans, were just mammals that are stuck in these bodies that have been programmed with these prison bars of indoctrination and mind control. And so when we really begin to shift and expand outside of that,
it's almost like the false matrix will enforce itself, and other people will start, like the vaccines. Like, you're like, it's everybody's choice. If you want a vaccine, go ahead and get it. If I don't, then I won't get it. But then other people are actually enforcing their idea of what society should be onto you, because the false matrix, it self regulates, it's self grooming. That's why a lot of our parents become uh, our groomers, right? For the false matrix. Our parents actually pass down all of these prison bars right down to us, and nobody's ever had to tell our parents that they needed to mind control us, but they just naturally do it because the mind virus, it just, that's how it functions. So I just totally went on a little rant there. I do apologize about that. I'm gonna go into a little healing here now. So I invite you to just get comfortable, and we'll go into our weekly group healing.
Okay, so I invite you to breathe and start to settle. We've just been talking in our mind. And now we're going to go into the energy space where we receive medicine in all the most pertinent places in our body and mind and light bodies, where we're still susceptible to manipulation, where we still carry frequencies of anti self viral programming, where we still externalize and give away our power in the name of deferring responsibility for things that happen to us. And so just begin to breathe in the body. Uh, Taking a deep, long breath into the lower belly, expanding the belly as you inhale, exhaling, releasing all tension. Taking a long, deep breath all the way down through your whole body. Exhaling, releasing all pain, all resistance. And higher self, the body, the galactics, we're commanding for an opening of all of our meridians and energy bodies in our whole body in all levels and layers, for our light body to open, to allow cosmic divine love energy to flow through our body freely. Opening the lower back and the back of the body, opening the back of the pelvic girdle, relaxing, releasing all tension, again continuing to open up our energy body. Self, galactic team, we're commanding for an absolute clearing of all frequencies and patterns of victimization in our physical and light bodies from all layers and all levels and all dimensions and all of time and space and all of our genetics, commanding for a complete removal of the frequencies of victimization, clearing frequencies through all layers and levels, opening up the body to allow the sound frequencies to come in and do the scrubbing, do the work. You just breathe. When we feel gratitude in our heart, this allows the healing to take place even stronger because we're giving energy and we're receiving the healing, and we're giving gratitude and we're receiving the healing. It's a little trick. There you go. higher self, galactic team, if there are any distortions, imprints, parasitic energies, oppressive consciousness or energies in the body, in the field, in the consciousness, in all dimensions, commanding for all of those energies to be cleared. If there are any dream harvesting or imprintation devices, let those be cleared from the mind and the cranium, commanding for a clearing of any disconnection or blockage between the physical and the astral bodies around the navel center. If there are any high priority occupants that are ready to be cleared in this field, bring those is, mirror opposite is, merge together with each other with the Christ opposites up the levels. Bring in all the necessary Christ opposites to remove the occupants themselves, clean up demons, thought forms, soul fragments, personalities of other people, implantation systems, belief systems, and etc. on the first 3 levels, then all levels. And while we're at it, let's just go ahead and clear all energies that are not of our own soul's essence, not of source, not of pure divine love. Let those energies be cleared from all layers and levels of our physical and light bodies, till we are only the purity of our own divine light, commanding for the absolute restoration of our original divine template, of our innocent joy and delight in being alive, this gentle and profound appreciation for breath, Alright, beloved family, I love you all so much.
I hope that these transmissions are helpful, wanting to be helpful, wanting to support you in your mission so you're living your best life and you're excited and you're empowered and you're abundant and you are delighted by all the beautiful things this life has to offer. And we're going to go into maybe some self-healing related topics next week. And I love you all so much. I hope you have a fantastic day and the rest of the week. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.